Welcome to Excel Basics number 3. And in this video, we got to talk about number formatting as facade and when to use the round function. Now, here's a picture of the Trevi fountain in Italy. This is an example of a facade. It's fancy and beautiful on the outside, but the inside may be totally different. That's the same with number formatting. Here's a column, as we'll see, where we just use number formatting to make the numbers appear like they're rounded, but they're not. And when we add, we get the wrong answer. If we properly use the round function, then in a subsequent formula, if we add, we get the correct answer. Now, I usually don't wear a cap like this and a sweatshirt, as you know, but my office is freezing today, so I have to bundle up so I can have fun with you talking about number formatting and round. All right, let's go over to the sheet NF for number formatting 1. Now, the first question to ask is, what does number formatting do? And when we figure that out, we have the definition of number formatting. And here it is. Number formatting allows you to change how the number is displayed on the surface, on the facade, without actually changing the underlying number that sits in the cell. Now, when we are doing things like just changing the number of decimals, we can see what happens here on the surface of the cell when we apply number formatting, home number, and we can watch what happens to the actual number that sits in the cell up in the formula bar. Let's select and use decrease decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4. You betcha. $35,061. That's exactly what we have in the cell. No, it's not. When we did all that number formatting on the surface, it did not change the underlying number. And for you taking this class, you may think this is a simple thing, but most people in the world that use Excel don't know that. When they apply number formatting and all of a sudden the decimals are reduced, they think it's been rounded. It's not. And don't use that word. Don't say number formatting rounds. It just displays the number a certain way on the surface of the spreadsheet without changing the underlying number. Now let's go see the implications. And this is usually when people realize they didn't understand what number formatting does or how it can adversely affect formulas. Let's go over to NF2. Now, we saw an example of this in video number 1, but this video is all about number formatting. So here's the big problem if you don't know about number formatting. Equal sign to create a formula. I'm going to arrow 100 times 2. I can definitely do that in my head. It's 200. Control Enter. The formula calculates the wrong answer. That formula is definitely causing an error. No, just as we said in the first video, it's the driver who's causing the error. Anytime you see a formula result that doesn't match up what you see on the surface of the spreadsheet, you have to immediately suspect number formatting. Now, I'm going to highlight both cells, and we have an eraser. Clicking the drop down, that general number formatting is our eraser. It'll wipe away whatever number formatting we have and show us what's actually in the cell. General. And sure enough, there's the problem. Someone decreased the decimals. And 99.5 times 2 is exactly 199. Now I'm going to Control Z. It's definitely worthwhile to know the keyboard to apply general. And the reason why is we get in trouble all the time with number formatting, but also date and time number formatting sometimes get in the way, so you just want to wipe everything away. So it's a common task, and you can use the keyboard Control Shift grave accent or tilde. And sure enough, that applies general. Now, once we know about number formatting, we're not going to get in trouble with formulas. But there's another great benefit of number formatting. Let's go over to the sheet NF3. Now, another benefit of number formatting is number formatting can save us a lot of time with data entry. We need to enter this data. I'm going to come over and select F6. Notice there's a general number formatting. But when I type a $, 45.00, now I type 6 characters. I can see them here, and I see them up in the formula bar. But watch what happens. Control Enter. Well, it's polite. It applied currency number formatting. That's called number formatting as you type. But look up into the formula bar. Excel only stores significant digits. There are 4 characters, $, decimal 00, not stored in the cell. That is just number formatting. Now, there's 2 ways we can speed up data entry. One is to just type the significant decimal, so 65.2, enter, 78.99, enter, 100, enter, 101, enter, 98.2, and 20. I can already tell right here that saved me 4 clicks, decimal 00 and the $. Now I can simply highlight. Actually, I'm going to leave that there and show you something important about currency as you type. Control 1. Here's Format Cells. We want currency. I can see the preview right here. Currency allows you to set how you want your negative numbers to display. In accounting, they use parentheses to indicate negative. I'm just going to choose the one at the top, 2 decimals, click OK. And that saved me a lot of clicks. But what happened right here? Select Control 1. When you do currency formatting as you type, it chooses to display negative numbers with parentheses and in red. One problem with having different types of currency number formatting is the decimals don't line up. -5. Whoa, there it is. Enter. -5. Enter. No, we need consistent number formatting. Right-click. I'm going to get the Format Painter and click. Now everything is lined up. Now another way to do this is to just highlight and pre-format. We'll use the drop-down Currency. And now we just get to go 45, enter, 65.2, 78.99, 100. I saved 4 clicks. 101, 4 clicks. 98.2, 2 clicks. And 20, 4 clicks saved. That's a lot of clicks saved over time. So much so, well, maybe you have an extra day of vacation. All right, let's go talk about on NF4 the difference between currency and accounting. Now we have general here just so we can see the actual numbers. Select, come up, and we're going to apply currency. Accountants like very specific number formatting, so they built it in here, accounting. And here are the differences. We have a fixed $sign on the outside edge, whereas currency has a floating $sign. However many decimals there are, that $sign will float. Accountants like things lined up and neat. 0 is displayed as 0. Over here, a dash. Now that comes from accounting. When you close out your accounting, if you're doing it the old way, you'd put a little dash. And then, of course, negative numbers are displayed differently. All right, let's go over to the sheet NF5 and talk about percentage number formatting. Now, at its essence, when we see 9.5%, that's just a formatted symbolic representation of parts out of 100. For us, 0.0, and we can see that's the penny position. So the tax rate is going to be 9.5 pennies for every $1. Now, that is the number that sits in the cell. If I select this cell and apply drop-down percentage right here, what did it do? Well, what we learned many years ago in school, it slid the decimal. So here it would go whoop, whoop, and then it added a percentage symbol. So if I apply percentage, sure enough, whoop, whoop, slid the decimal, added a percent symbol. But underneath, even if you type in the percentage symbol, that would be percentage number format as you type. Apply general, and you'll see what's actually there. Sure enough, 0.095 and 0.03. Control Z. Now, of course, the way people get into trouble is equals 1 times 1%. Well, that should be a penny, right? 1.45. What is going on? As we have already learned, anytime a formula gives you a result that's not expected, it's probably number formatting. I'm going to click in this cell, come up and apply general. And sure enough, someone decreased the decimal. And here's how they probably did it. This button right here is terrible. If you read the screen tip there, it's not very helpful. It should say apply percentage number formatting with 0 decimals showing. So I click. A lot of people, when they click that, they think that it was changed to 1%. But as formulas know, since formulas never see number formatting, it's always going to get the underlying number. Now, as we talked about in video number 1, you can actually look up to the formula bar and see the percentage, but that's actually not what's stored in the cell. That 0.00145 is what's stored in the cell. All right, now we need to scroll over and start talking about round. Let's go to the sheet round. Now we all remember how to round by hand. There are 2 steps, and we're going to go through the 2 steps to understand what round is doing behind the scenes. Now let's try rounding this number right here. Step 1, pick the position you want to round to. So I'm starting at the decimal. 1, 2. That's to the penny. I'm rounding to the second position. Then I go to step 2. Look at the digit to the right. There it is. If it's 5 or bigger, add 1 to the position you're rounding to and remove the unwanted digits. So I'm rounding to there, 7, that's 5 or bigger. So I add 1, remove the digits, and 52.73, that's our rounded answer. If I take this number, step 1, that's the position 1, 2. I'm rounding to the penny position. I look to the right, 4, 4 or less, remove unwanted digits. So I'm not adding anything to the 2. That's the position I'm rounding to. Removing the digits, and I get 52.72. Now, let's see how to do it in Excel. Hopefully not longhand. Equals gross pay times our tax rate. And if I Control Enter, we have 52 and a bunch of messy decimals. Now I'm going to leave that there with no number formatting. We'll redo the calculation. Arrow to get our gross pay times, and there's our tax rate. All right, now I'm going to apply currency number formatting. There's currency. And those unrounded decimals, all those messy decimals are still there. If we leave them there and then use this in some other formula, all those messy decimals are used and oftentimes messes up the calculation. But if we're never going to use this in another formula, the displayed answer is correct, 52.73. Now let's see how to use the round function. Round, number, that could be a number in a cell. Oftentimes it's a formula, so I'm going to select gross pay times tax rate. We know it's that messy decimal right there, and so comma, the second argument number of digits. You count on your fingers decimal 1, 2. So I need to put a 2 there to tell round to round to the penny position. When I put a 2, close parentheses, it does all the rest for me. Control Enter. I see it's general, so that's the official rounded number. Now, often in business, we use penny, so we put F2, a 2 there. When you're doing income taxes, you have to round to the dollar. So if I put a 0 here, so that's a 7 in that position right there, so this would become 53 bucks. I'm going to Control Z. And then sometimes when you have big numbers, like for financial statements, you want to round to the thousands position. Well, here's the decimal. Since positive is this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. In our first video, we rounded a decimal to 4 positions and then applied percentage number formatting. Well, if it's positive this direction, it's negative this direction. 2, 1, 0 is what you use to the dollar. -1, -2, -3 would be rounding to the thousands. All right, let's go over. I'm going to scroll using my scroll arrow. And we want to go to round 2. Now, here's the rule for when you have to round. When you must round, you are required to round in the first place, like with money. Second, you actually have extraneous decimals if it's money past the penny position. And the third thing, and they all have to be true, and then you know you have to use round, you will use the formula result in a subsequent formula. Now, when you don't have to use round, when you're just looking at a number, then you can use number formatting, look at the number, write it down somewhere. Now, let's see why this is true. I want to equals arrow, shift, arrow, arrow. I have all three values times, I'll get the tax rate. Enter. I have number formatting already applied. Alt equals to add them up. Enter. 163.89. Now, if you were doing this in your office and your supervisor was super good at math, she looked over and said, that's not equal to 163.89. And she grabs the mouse and she comes over and says, look at this. 52.73, enter. 58.58, enter. 52.59, enter. And then she says, whoa, I didn't know about that keyboard. Alt equal, that's pretty good. Alt equals, and bam, she just proved that when you actually type those numbers in, the actual numbers, it's not equal to 163.89. It's 163.90. And then, of course, you look at your boss. Oh, I just forgot to use round. Equals round, arrow, arrow, shift, arrow, arrow, times the tax rate, comma, number of digits. We're counting 1, 2 to get to the penny position, so I'm just typing the 2 in. Close parentheses, enter, enter, enter. Alt equals, and then you say, here you go, boss. Here's the 90 pennies you wanted. And your boss says, well, I'm not going to get you in trouble now because I like that keyboard, Alt equals. Now, why does this matter? 1 penny doesn't make a big difference, but if someone's doing payroll and you get the paycheck, maybe you don't trust the calculations they're doing. There's other situations in business, like when you're doing invoice or when you're doing income tax. Now, here's an invoice, and we want to complete this invoice using formulas. Now, we're going to multiply units times price. And yes, prices sometimes go past the penny position, meaning they have a fraction of a penny. We're going to multiply them here, then add. Then we have to calculate a tax based on the tax rate, and then we get a total. Now, we have to check, are the 3 requirements for using round met? Well, this is an invoice. We're going to use money, so that means we're required to round. We definitely have extra decimals here. And once we make our calculations, we're going to be using them in subsequent formulas. All right, so we're going to use round equals ROU. I see it there. I hit Tab. And for number, we're going to multiply 3 prices times 3 units. The corresponding elements in the array will be multiplied, and we'll have 3 answers, comma 2, because this is money, and we're dealing with pennies, close parentheses, and enter. Let's Alt equals to get the subtotal, and enter. Now, I did the calculation off to the side without the round function, and sure enough, we got the wrong answer here. Now, we're going to multiply the subtotal times the tax rate. And we can already tell we have to use round because there are extra decimals past the penny position. Equals round, tab, up arrow, times right arrow, comma 2, close parentheses, and enter. $1.45. Alt equals, I can use shift and up to get subtotal and tax. And now when I hit enter, the total is $16.30. And I don't have any errors where I'm off by a few pennies. The customer is not going to find my error and then not trust my calculations. All right, let's scroll down and look at our last example. This is an income tax example. We have some taxable amounts. We need to multiply each one of these by a tax rate, round them to the dollar, and then add. Well, do we have all 3 requirements? Well, this is money, so we have to round. I already see some extraneous decimals, and we're definitely using the results of our formula in a subsequent formula. So in B38 equals ROU tab for number, arrow over, and then hold shift and arrow down, times right arrow a couple times. That'll give us our spilled amounts, but we need to round those, comma, 0, because decimal 12210 to the dollar. Close parentheses. And that gives us the 1, 2, 3, 4 tax amounts that are rounded to the dollar. Alt equals, and bam, we owe $849. Now, this was an awesome video all about number formatting and the round function. We talked about when you have to round, you're required to round like it's money. You have extra decimals, and you're going to use the result in a subsequent formula. When all three are true, you got to use round. We saw a tax example, an invoice example, and a payroll example. We talked about the basics of rounding, percentage number formatting, accounting and currency, and general. We talked about how number formatting can help us save time when we're entering data. And remember, formulas do not see number formatting. And of course, we started it off with the definition of number formatting. What does it do? It changes the way we display the number on the surface of the spreadsheet without changing the underlying number. All right, we'll see you next Excel Basics video.